We are ready for speaker number 3. Debra Fine is a former engineer who now travels the world as a keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and best-selling author. She dedicates her program to conversational skills.
I thought I'd be up here with you.
Oh, very good. She dedicates her program to conversational skills and business networking techniques that enhance visibility, gain referrals, retain membership, and build business relationships. Her best-selling first book, The Fine Art of Small Talk, and I just have to tell you, I love that title, Debra Fine, The Fine Art of Small Talk, was met with excellent reviews in the Library Journal, Chicago Tribune, and USA Today, and the newly released The Fine Art of the Big Talk, How to Win Clients, Deliver Great Presentations, and Solve Conflicts at Work, is the second in the Fine Art series. Please join me in welcoming Debra Fine.
Thank you, Rex. Great to be here. Who else is an engineer? Anybody? There usually are quite a few. Just one dork in the room. So this is the epiphany for my business. People wonder, well, how does she get away with talking about a topic like small talk? What a waste of saliva. Who would want to learn how to do that? So I'm an engineer by degrees. When I was a project engineer, I had to stand out behind those 8-foot tables like we're about to see today and represent projects to people like yourself that came up to the table. And I had no problem doing that. I was very well trained. But if you put me into a hospitality suite at the end of that day, I was like a fly on the wall. I had no idea how you're supposed to talk to anybody about anything beyond, is it Sandy? Sandy, what do you do? Sandy would say whatever it is that she does, then she'd ask me what I do, and then what do you talk about after that? And I had no clue, but I just figured it was dorks that didn't know what to talk about after that, and all the rest of you were born with this gift of gab. I had one other epiphany that started me on this trail to talk about conversation skills, networking, etc. In 1988, Oprah and I, that year, we both lost 65 pounds. Now, Oprah has had to do this again. But, and I've since lost more. This is no sob story. I'm only telling you this. When you're that overweight in this world, you get excluded from a lot of things. So the girls didn't ask me to their birthday parties. Nobody asked me for a date till I got out of college. My best friends were books. Books came easily. Doing what I made myself do today, and it's not because I'm at a showcase, it's because it's not in my nature. I'm an introvert. Some of you are shy, some of you are introverted, some of you are born with the gift of gab. I watched you. I walked up to Sherry. I introduced myself. I said hello, and I had a real conversation with her. Many of you, I just shook your hand and said hi because I was in a hurry and had to go. I had a real conversation, Daniel, with you. That is not in my nature. My nature is, as a presenter, or if I were an attorney or still an engineer, is to hide in the restroom and tell Angela I need to fuss with my hair a few more minutes, or collect my thoughts, which I should have done 24 hours ago. So I spent a year's worth of time on research, everything. Icebreakers. What do you say to engage someone in conversation, especially somebody you don't know? How do you get through an awkward moment when, let's pretend the 4 of us are sitting at a lunch or at a board meeting, waiting for the meeting to begin, and we've run out of things to talk about? Conversation killers to avoid. Even exit lines so that never again, in order to get away from me, do you do one of these numbers. Debra, so good to meet you, but I've got to run. I've got to call the babysitter. Out you fly. 5 minutes later, I find out from your colleague that your kids are grown and in college. There's ways to get away from people without lying to them, but ways to get away from people so they can't hold us hostage for one more moment than we are willing to be held hostage for. Everybody should have received a handout. If I missed you, I'm sorry, you can get me at break. It's just sort of an overview of what this program is about, although it's tailored to all kinds of people. I want you to walk away with a couple tools today for yourself, even though you're a very mixed audience. So let's start with this, taking the risk of walking up to somebody new. It is a risk, because when I walked up to Sherry, you could reject me. Her phone's not working today, so she would have a heck of a time, because most people would just go like this on their crackberries, so she was at a disadvantage, I later learned. But nonetheless, anybody can reject you, right? Which is why most of us don't walk up to new people, even though we're at a membership organization, even though we're at an industry conference, even though we're leaders and we have stakeholders who work for us, but we hide in our silos during lunch rather than walking around and gaining rapport with people. I think it's a greater risk to take I-80 in either direction than it is to walk up to somebody new. But I had to learn that. And by the way, I know I-80 because my husband is a Hawkeye. Can you imagine that? Isn't that great? Yes, thank you very much. Pretty exciting for him that I'm in Iowa today. I would not bring him along, however. So So the reason it's such a risk is because of the rejection, but the other reason is most of us, no matter what our profession, no matter what our area of expertise is, we're looking for the perfect thing to say. And if I had found the perfect thing to say that first 40 years of my life, I would have used it. But I never found the perfect thing to say, so I never walked up to somebody new to engage them in conversation. So let me show you a second how most people start conversations if they're not really born with the gift of gab, okay? So, ma'am, I'm not gonna ask you to stand or participate in any way except to say, Judy, what do you do? Tell us what you do. What do you do?
I'm the food service director for a school district over in Southwest Iowa.
I'm a food service director for a school district in Northwest Iowa? Southwest Iowa. And where are you from, Judy? Are you from Iowa or are you from somewhere else?
I am from Harlan.
I'm from Harlan, is her response.
Originally from Missouri.
Originally from Missouri. Do you know what you have just witnessed? An FBI agent. Did you see what I did? I asked her what she did, and then I asked her where she was from. So I'm going to ask you to consider, whatever the question is that you decide to start with, stay on topic. And consider this, dig in deeper, because in North America, most questions become rhetorical. For instance, let's pretend we're friends. Barb, thank you. And I say, how are you? Do you think I mean that? You're right, I don't. So, I don't. When I walk in the house tonight, what's my husband going to say to me when I enter? What's for dinner? It's exactly right, Judy. How do you know him? Did you hang out with him? Oh, that's what yours says. You met him yesterday. How was your day? It's typical, right? How was your day? You think he means that? I'm from Colorado. If there's a Rockies game on tonight, he doesn't mean it. How was your day means hello. That's all it means. And it's fine because that's what it means in North America. So when you are working with someone, or you see them in a board meeting, or you haven't seen them for 6 months because you attend the same whatever association twice a year, and you say to somebody, how's your year been? They're going to say, pretty good. I'm going to suggest to you that you dig in deeper, one more question, to let them know you're genuine. You don't have to do this in Europe or Asia. They know you mean it. Here, we have to do it to let people know we're serious. We're not just throwing this out at you. So if my husband says, Deborah, how was your day? I'll say, great. If he says, tell me about your program today, or how were your flights today, or what'd you have on your plate today? Now do I know my husband really wants to talk to me? I believe he does. There's some examples on your handout of that. When you ask somebody, how's your project going? And they say, pretty good, ask them, well, what's been the greatest challenge? Or what have you enjoyed the most? Just to let them know you mean it. Now, I understand there's people out there that talk too much and you don't need to encourage them. So I'm just talking about everybody else. Okay? Now, you know what I hate? I hate, are you married? What kind of question is that? What if the answer is no? Is that a way to break the ice with somebody? I don't think so. How's this one? Do you have any kids? What if the answer is no? Now where are we headed with this conversation? And yet, in order to build rapport with people, especially professionally, we need to get to know them to build that business friendship. Because all things being equal, people do business with their friends, and all things being not so equal, people still do business with their friends. So how do we get to know people without, in my opinion, going over that boundary of are you married, do you have any kids, and that kind of stuff? Well, I want to share with you my favorite opening to do that. If I sat on a board and was there every month, and I sat next to you, and we always said, hi, good to see you, how have you been, good, and then we looked down. What I would make myself do is use this exact opening line in order to get to know you better in that kind of situation. And it is, what keeps you busy outside of work? Or what keeps you busy outside of this board? If I was at a board meeting, because I'm not sure, you might be retired, you might stay at home with your kids, I don't know. What keeps you busy outside of the board? It is a great way to get to know people in a professional setting. So we're going to try it. Sir, what is your name?
Brian.
Brian, what keeps you busy outside of your work?
Oh, I like to do a lot of things. Watch TV.
Oh, you, well, Matt, you'd appreciate that. What do you like to do, Brian? Outside of work, he says, I like to watch TV. So I think he's letting me have it back for picking on him, don't you? Okay, I'll try somebody else. What is your name right here? Brandy, what keeps you busy outside of work? My 2-year-old boy. So I'd ask her about her son, what she enjoyed the most about summer with a 2-year-old. I mean, can you imagine? What fun things did you do that he went just crazy about? It's a way to find out, forgetting you for a second, because you were mean to me, Brian, but no. But this is how you find out if people are hikers, if people can't wait for the football season, if people like to cook, veggie gardens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I love to ask that question. This is when it doesn't work. When somebody doesn't want to talk to you, I can't make somebody talk to me that doesn't want to talk to me. And the only other time it doesn't work is when somebody is caught unprepared. You say, what keeps you busy outside of work? And they go, I work all the time. So I'll say something like, if you had this weekend to yourself and you couldn't work, and it was just for you, what would you do? It's a digging in deeper question to let them know you really mean it and give them a second. So how about one more tip before I have to wrap this up? Let's pretend I say to you, pretend we become friendly and I know you and I run into you in 2 months. I run into you and I say, what's been going on? So I'm going to hear your answer out loud all together. Here's the question. What's been going on? What's your answer? Did we rehearse today? Do I even know you? Do I live in Colorado? I didn't even have a chance, right? But you all said almost the same thing. Most of us say the same thing, including me, to what's been going on. We say nothing or not much. Do you know why? Okay, number one reason. We have so much going on, we cannot possibly think of what it is. That's one, right? Today it is because you're away from your desk. You don't even have your phone today, Sherry, poor you. So you get, the other reason we say nothing or not much is because, or busy, or same old, or whatever we say is because when people ask us what's been going on, we're not certain they mean it either, that they're genuine. So why would we give them more than a one-word answer? Everybody here is probably familiar with Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. He is opposed to the stop and chat, and I actually agree with him on this topic. And what the stop and chat is if we're passing each other in the hall, and you say, how you doing, Debra? I say, pretty good, how about you? I'm allowed to keep going. I don't have to stop and chat. If I'm at a conference, and I'm there to meet you, Daniel, and Sherry stops to chat about her, she has 2 children, et cetera, and I don't have time, I gotta go, I gotta talk to Brian. That's okay, I'm not gonna give you a good answer, I'm gonna give you a one-word answer. I'm not gonna, what I call, play the conversation game. When you give one-word answers, you're not playing the conversation game. But how about when you wanna connect with people? Because you're in a membership organization, you see somebody once a month, 5 times a year, or you work with them, or it's somebody that you talk to on the phone remotely, and you wanna connect with them, and you have the time to connect with them. And they say to you, how's your summer? And you say, pretty good. And there's no alcohol involved, so nobody can help this along, okay? What are you gonna do? Can't you help somebody along in the conversation? Most of us don't. Do you know why? Because we're on automatic pilot. We give one-word answers to these questions. When you wanna connect, you've gotta give a sentence. Not more, a sentence. So let me give you an example. Here's Friendly Brandy, okay? Let's pretend. We leave this event center together today. And as we're walking out, you say to me, Debra, isn't it a beautiful day? If I'm in a hurry, because I do have a plane today and I gotta go, then what I'll probably say to you is, yeah, it is. I'll smile. I'll keep rolling my little suitcase around. Because I'm not gonna play the conversation game because I don't have time or the interest or whatever it may be. However, since my plane doesn't take off till 5, and I assume we're leaving before then, and since every conversation is an opportunity, whether it be for a client, for a customer, for a friend, for a romance, for whatever it may be, for fundraising, when you say to me, because I have time, Debra, isn't it a beautiful day? You know what I'll probably say? I gotta tell you something, Brandy. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. I did. I went to the University of Buffalo for my degrees, and every day outside of Buffalo is a beautiful day. So, she can now say to me, oh, that's nice, and walk to her car. Did I go on and on about my kids' GPAs? No. My aches and pains? Anything awkward, too much? No. I just gave her something real about me in case she wanted to talk to me. But now if she wants to talk to me, look at what she's got to work with. Debra, you're from Buffalo? Is it as bad as they say it is there? Debra, what do they do in the winter there? How about this one? Debra, what's it like having a Super Bowl loser year after year after year? But can you imagine people that work alongside with you and or somebody at a conference and or somebody at an association event says to you, how have you been? And instead of saying good, you say, I've been good. I did a vegetable garden this year, and I did great. I got some pumpkins that are huge. You've given them something to talk about with you. Now, you have to decide if you're willing to reveal something that personal or not. Maybe when somebody says, how's it going? You might say, I've been handed a new project at work. It's a whole new ballgame for me. I'm not certain, blah, blah. Whatever you want to reveal. If you are willing to reveal, however, something personal, vegetable garden, 2-year-old, trip to see your brother in Kansas City, you become 3-dimensional. When people are 3-dimensional, they become human beings. We tend to like people that are more human. Even if I don't have a vegetable garden, even though if I don't have a kid, I don't have to have anything in common with you for us to connect if you become more human. I want to close this with a poem. I usually close with it's such a mixed audience, it's tough. So I'm going to close with a poem, first of all, because it's shorter and time is restricted. Secondly, because it applies to anybody here involved with any membership organization. And my guess is everybody in this room is. Whether it's professional, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it be church or synagogue, whatever it may be, you'll be able to identify with this poem. It is in my book, by the way, which will be given away at lunch, autographed, so you can sell it on eBay for 5 cents more. So, or not, I don't know. So, here's the poem. Thoughts from a new member. I see you at the meetings, but you never say hello. You're busy all the time you're there with those you really know. I sit amongst the members, yet I'm a lonely gal. I think I'm going to have to start that again. I froze. Thoughts from a new member. I see you at the meetings, but you never say hello. You're busy all the time you're there with those you really know. I sit amongst the members, yet I'm a lonely gal. The new ones feel as strange as us. The old ones pass us by. Darn it, you folks urged us to join. You talked of fellowship. You could just cross the room, you know, but you never make the trip. Can't you just nod your head and smile, stop and shake a hand, then go sit amongst your friends? Now that I'd understand. I'll be at your next meeting, and I hope that you will spend the time to introduce yourself. I join to be your friend. It's up to each and every one of us, I think, to take the risk to walk up to new people, build relationships, and number 2, assume the burden of other people's comfort in these kinds of interactions. And what that means is to walk in prepared with things to talk about. The worst time to think of something to talk about is when there's nothing to talk about. When you forgot somebody's name, to ask to be prompted so you can properly introduce. To sit at a table of 8 and not hope the brandies of the world will be doing all the talking, but that you will assume the burden of making everyone feel comfortable around you. And that's the goal of my programs. Thank you for your attention today. If you want a handout, let me know. Thank you. Thanks, Rex. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Debra.